Welcome to the Pharos Fit podcast, where we help you to explore your capacity to move better, push further, and achieve your limitless potential through fitness, nutrition, recovery, and lifestyle. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pharos Fit podcast. Great to be back with you guys again. I am here today with athlete and coach Leka Fineman. I don't know about you guys, but I think one of the most impressive things about sport, and in particular CrossFit, it's kind of the Masters Division. The fact that these athletes are able to do such incredible things at an older age than we usually think of sport to be is pretty special and pretty incredible. And Leka is a 3 times CrossFit Games Masters athlete. So first of all, welcome, Leka.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Winter is coming. Leka lives in Palm Springs, so she came up to the mountain. It's like, oh, it's cold. There's weather.
Yeah, I put a sweatshirt on. It was great.
Yeah, it's just in this last couple of weeks, it's just taken a dip in temperature, so we're all kind of adjusting and getting used to it. But it's kind of nice to wear what I call jumpers, what you guys call sweaters.
Hoodies. I got my hoodie on here.
Hoodies. I'm gonna get my long johns out pretty soon, so it's cool. So Leka, let's just start. I know people are going to want to hear about, your time as an athlete and your adventures at the CrossFit Games, but let's go back first of all. Let's give an introduction to you.
Sure.
How did you become this incredible athlete? How did you become a coach, and what's your journey been?
Yeah, so my fitness journey. I grew up, little known fact, in Northern California on a hippie commune, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I had, a very non-traditional upbringing, you might say, pretty much roaming around in the woods. We had 140 acres, and I had horses, and we had goats and chickens. So it was a lot of actual work. So, chopping wood, carrying water, building houses. We grew all of our own food. So I grew up very active, and I didn't participate in any competitive sports. I played basketball in high school, but I was never encouraged or, it wasn't part of my upbringing to be a competitive athlete. And I, throughout my young adulthood, I practiced yoga. I started doing yoga when I was 12, actually. I did Pilates. I started Pilates in my 30s, did Pilates and yoga through both of my pregnancies. And then it wasn't until I was 40, I think, I was introduced to CrossFit. And I was actually going through a divorce at the time. My younger brother had been living in San Diego. He was actually working for what is now CrossFit Invictus, CJ Martin.
Yes.
And he was, it was 2007, 2008, and he had drank the CrossFit Kool-Aid and was a fanatic, and he couldn't stop talking about it, and he was like, oh my God, you got to try this thing. It's going to change the world. It's going to change your life. It's amazing. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm good with my yoga and my Pilates, and I don't want to get big and bulky. And so really seriously, just to shut him up, I went to a CrossFit class. I was in San Diego visiting him, and I went in there, and it was we did this workout. It was wall balls and rowing and some other thing. And I loved it, immediately. I didn't go to my yoga class I was going to go to that day. I just was like, oh my God, this is great. So
what was it you loved about it? The feeling or the fun?
It was the intensity, I think that's what it was. It just, it was the 3, 2, 1, go. It was hard, but it was fun. There were all these strong women in there, and everyone was just having a good time. It was just this kind of raw warehouse space. It was really cool.
Did you enjoy the competitive side of it at that stage?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't even it was for time. I don't even know if we kept score.
Right.
But then actually that summer, I remember going camping with my brother and my stepbrother, and they were fanatics at this point. We were in the woods, and they brought a barbell and a wall ball, and we were doing these workouts in the woods, and people are looking at us like we were insane, but we were just having so much fun. It was crazy.
Right.
And then my brother actually came to live with me in Oakland, and we started building a gym in my garage. We put up a pull-up bar, we built these boxes, and him and my stepbrother were just it was at that time, it was just like, go, go, go. You know, like we were doing
Yeah.
Fight Gone Bad all the time and whatever crazy shit. And it was following the CrossFit main site workout of the day. So this was like 2008. And then he started coaching at CrossFit Oakland. And like I said, I was going through a divorce and I started going to the gym, and it like saved my life, honestly. I mean, I met this community of women. I mean, right away, I was just like invited into this friend group that I'm still like best friends with these women today. And I started to, like, I had this outlet, you know, to just like deal with all the stress that was going on in my life. I started to just feel like stronger and better. And it was the community really that drew me in at first. Yeah. And we were, you know, they were doing things like they would have these throwdowns and like fundraisers. That was that year, these 4 police officers were shot, and there was like this, you know, fundraiser, and everyone would come together and we would have these barbecues, and, you know, it was just this amazing community. So that was like the beginning for me. And then it wasn't until, for several years, I kept going, and I never thought I was like, I'm not doing this to compete. Like that wasn't even in my mindset at all. Yeah. And there were people at that gym who were going, like the team, CrossFit Oakland went to the CrossFit Games in 2000. I think they went in 2008. 2009, I went to the CrossFit Games and, you know, watched them, or I had friends that were competing. So I knew that was definitely on my radar. Like I knew that was part of it, but not for me. I put that off to the side. And my coaches were like, you know, you should try this, you should do this, you should try this. I'm like, I don't want to compete. I didn't think of myself as an athlete. That wasn't, you know, my identity. So it wasn't till 2012, I turned 45, and that was the first year they had the Masters division in the CrossFit Open. And
2005?
2012.
Oh,
actually.
2012.
Yeah, so I'd been doing CrossFit for 4 years. And I did the Open. I was 45, and I think it was that year they had the 7 minutes of burpees was the first workout. And I had, you know, from my yoga practice, I was really good at burpees because it was a lot of that, you know, chaturanga, jump up, jump down thing. And I did really well on that workout. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, this is cool. I'm good at this. And then I kind of was like, well, what would happen if I actually tried? You know, like how good could I get? So for me, it was always this thing about like, how good could I get? It wasn't like,
who could I beat?
Right.
It was just,
So it was more of an internal thing.
Yes.
But again, you know, I kept getting sort of pushed and encouraged by my coaches, which was really amazing. Now as a coach, I see just like having someone have faith in me and encouraging me kind of made me think, well, maybe this is possible.
Yeah.
And so 2000, I kept doing the Open year after year, and kept taking it more and more seriously. So by 2015, I think I started actually competing. I think maybe it was that summer I might have entered my first local competition, and I did terribly. I couldn't do double unders. You know, I just was like, I mean, when I first started, let me back up for a second. I could not do double unders. I couldn't run 400 meters without stopping. I had never touched a barbell. I couldn't do a pull-up. You know, I had a lot of natural athletic ability and body awareness, but I sucked, you know. I was not like, I didn't walk into this being an elite athlete.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about it is you can see such a tangible growth in terms of skill acquisition with CrossFit. It's like, I didn't used to be able to do these things, and now I can do these things, and I can do these things really well. Yeah. And that's a really like trackable, traceable, provable.
Right. We have the metrics and the data, and we keep track. And that is super important. And also seeing other people do it, like seeing other women like climb a rope and learning how to climb a rope, and like having that confidence, like, oh my God, I could climb 15 feet up, and having that feeling like, well, what else can I do? And then that immediately carrying over, you know, into other areas of your life. Yeah. So that's one amazing thing about CrossFit. So 2015, by 2015, I was starting to get competitive. I actually competed on a team for regionals that year because by default, there was a spot open. One of the other girls qualifies as an individual. So I had like been the one in the gym who was the next best. So I was like, you know, got put on the team, and I was terrified and like totally felt out of place and total imposter syndrome. but it was really fun. So yeah, and then the next year, I kind of took a year off because I was 49. And then by that time I decided that I think 2015, I did pretty well in the open. I was 34th, right, that year. And that year I remember thinking, oh, maybe I'll make it to the games. But I realized to want to go to the CrossFit Games, it's like you have to have that as your goal and focus. It can't be just this like, oh, well, maybe that'll happen. Like for me anyways.
100%. Yeah.
So, by then I had also made this mindset shift to where I was identifying as an athlete. And for me, that was a really big change. And I see that, and it's a big part of what I do now as a coach, working with women, because making that shift internally of thinking of yourself as an athlete, you start to focus more on what your body can do in terms of performance rather than looking a certain way or, trying to be a certain size or shape. So it's also about how you fuel yourself. It's like, oh, I want to, eat the best foods so that I can perform the best. So that was a big thing. And also just, saying, okay, I'm an athlete. Like, yeah, I belong here. I'm, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, you got to shed that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and own it. Yeah. So 2016, I kind of took a year off. 2017, that was the year I decided I wanted to qualify for the games. And I had been doing programming. My coach then, I was training at Endgame Athletics, which is CrossFit EGA. And my coach, Arnold Chua, was doing my private programming, and I started really like dedicating myself to that. And I qualified that year, 2017.
So in that year, 2017, when you started doing the private coaching, how many hours a day were you kind of dedicated to CrossFit?
So this is an interesting life.
Yeah. So how did your training change, and how many hours a day are you dedicating to this?
Yeah. So I was training 2 hours a day. I was also working full time. I was a single mom. I was commuting from Oakland to San Francisco. So, 2 to 3 hours of my day was spent commuting.
Oh, wow.
I was working in a very stressful job for a tech company. I was a senior executive assistant. I was managing, head of sales for a startup. I was traveling internationally. I was like, I don't even know how I did it.
How are you doing it?
Yeah, it was insane. It was freaking insane. I basically, all I was doing was training, working, and taking care of my kids. Yeah. My friends fell away. My family fell away. I mean, it was like I had to meal prep every Sunday. I had to, my schedule was so tight, and that was all I was doing. I was like laser focused. So training was, I would get off work and go straight to the gym. And that would mean, I'd get to the gym after working all day. So a lot of times I really don't know how I did. I was just tired. So my training was very focused. Like we were doing, you and I were just talking about this. It was like the least effective amount. Like I didn't have hours to spend in the gym. I had to get in and get it done and get out. And then when I did have more time, on the weekends, Saturday would always be a longer piece. And then Sunday was just recovery. So the nights there was like one night a week or every other week I didn't have my kids, and it was just like I would go get a massage and get body work done and, eat and sleep. So I didn't spend a ton of time. It was just extremely focused. And my training schedule was, I had a list of weaknesses. It was always like gymnastic stuff for me. So I was always trying to focus on those weaknesses and then maintaining strength and conditioning, but trying to it was like a fine line, of not doing too much and being able to recover. Yeah. So I qualified that year, and I had been so focused on making it. Once I got there, I was like, holy shit, like now what do I do?
Right.
And I think I qualified in 8th place. So I was like, and then that year they took 20 back then. And the experience of being at the games was like, it's just an amazing, it was such an incredible, positive experience.
Yeah.
Just meeting the other women, from all over the world who are like me, like these crazy powerhouse, insane, insane people doing this crazy shit and making it happen, who are, 50 in their 50s. Most of them moms, most of them have businesses or work and just figure out how to do it.
And that to me, like I was kind of saying at the beginning, that is the most impressive thing to me. It's like when I see like a young person at the games who's like, dedicated their life to CrossFit, and they've given up work and they're just doing CrossFit and they're training 3 times a day and they're doing all that kind of stuff. Great.
Yeah.
But it's not like, that's less impressive to me than a single mom who's working a full-time job and doing all this training and going to the games and juggling all these different things. To me, that's a far more impressive situation than someone in their 20s who's given up everything else just to focus on CrossFit and qualify for the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, it really is. And now it's funny because sometimes I have to look back and recall that version of me and get inspired by myself.
Right. Yeah.
How did I even do that? So the first year was just being there was amazing. And I did okay. I mean, I finished in 8th place.
Was this in California at that point?
No, this was the first year. It was in Madison.
I was
damn it. The first year I qualified, I have to go all the way to Madison. But Madison is really cool. Wisconsin is beautiful. It was a great experience. And that year, the team that I had been training with also qualified. So there was a team at my gym. And that was another thing, back to that whole community piece, being in an environment where I was surrounded by other athletes and in that competitive training environment, I think that made a big difference. I mean, I was doing my own programming, but I had other people to train with. I mean, every Saturday or whenever I could, I was training with that team. Yeah. So I was...
That is one of the interesting things about CrossFit when it gets competitive is you initially get addicted to the connection, right? So you're initially addicted to the community because you're enjoying working out together. But then in order to take it to the next level, you kind of have to isolate. And then go into your own training bubble and get away from the community thing, which is what drew you in the first place.
Yeah. And then you find yourself what am I doing? Day in and day out. I mean, I'd be coming in the middle of winter and it was cold and dark and, the gnarly part of Oakland, it's not pretty, and just going into that dark hole and getting into that pain cave day after day after day. And that's what it takes. I mean, it takes that consistency, just showing up when you don't want to over and over and over. And
for those workouts when you were it was cold, it was dark, you were on your own, what was the main motivating factor?
I think for me, I'm a perfectionist. I just had this I wanted to see what my potential was, how good could I get? And once I had put that goal out there to the world, this is what I'm going to do. I had to live up to it. If I didn't, I would feel like I was just, a failure probably.
Right.
So it was just kind of it was this internal desire to achieve something and see how good I could get. So that first year, I made it, and then I wanted to go again because I learned so much. There were so many little rookie mistakes I made and just not feeling confident. So I decided to qualify again, and I did the next year, 2018. And that was probably the most fun I had that year. I actually...
You were more relaxed and you've done it before, you had experience.
I also started working with a mental performance coach, Grant Parr, who was instrumental in, so much of my growth as an athlete, as a person, just, really building the mental toughness and the mindset piece and getting over that fear of, not belonging and that imposter syndrome. I mean, we worked together. We started working together in 2017 and we worked together the next couple of years. And he's just an amazing coach. And I learned so much. I mean, we did a lot of visualization, a lot of breath work, a lot of, journaling. And so that made a big difference. And just in, the experience of being there and being able to just relax and enjoy the process.
And you weren't, do you think you were physically much better, or it was literally just the mindset and the...
I definitely improved. Yeah.
I
was a lot stronger.
Right.
I got a lot stronger. I put on some weight. I had always, I have probably what most people would think of as, the opposite problem of I'm always trying to get bigger and stronger and be more, just stronger basically. So yeah, I was better. Although that year I injured myself warming up. I fell on a rope climb and I sprained my ankle pretty badly. So that was like, I competed with a sprained ankle, which really sucked.
Oh, God.
I managed, I finished in 11th place though. So I felt fine about that. And like I said, I had the most fun. It was like the experience overall was the best.
Right.
And then, then I went back again. I mean, I don't even know how that happened, but it did. I think it was like, I was just in this, it was like what I was doing.
Yes.
I was in the routine of training.
Yeah.
By that time I was coaching full time. I was in the gym all the time. It was just what I was doing. So 2019 was different because that was the first year they only had 10. And the difference between competing in a field of 20 and competing in a field of 10 felt really different to me. I mean, with 20, it was like you can hide a little bit.
Right.
It's like a lot more lighthearted. 10 was just like really cutthroat.
Intense, yeah.
And I was also 51, 52. I was 52 at this point, which actually the difference between being 52 and 50 is that couple years mix. I was the oldest in the field.
Right.
All these other women had just turned 50. They were like me when I first came in. And it was a lot more intense. I also went by myself. I didn't have the team that year. It was a different experience. It was still fun and it was good. It was just a lot more cutthroat, I would have to say, is how it felt. And also the experience of being at the games as a master. The masters are, I would say, an afterthought to the CrossFit Games. Maybe now things have changed with the new CEO and everything. He seems to be a little more appreciative of the masters. But then it was like, we're basically at the bottom of the barrel and, we are last and everything. There's no one in this. Nobody really cares.
Right. Yeah, so, that's because I've been to the games to watch live and, obviously watching it on TV as well. And it does always feel kind of like, there's not really that many people watching and it doesn't really get any like media hype behind it. Doesn't get any attention. So it doesn't like, you don't get the
They
same
didn't
kind
even,
of buzz
2019, they didn't even stream the Masters at all. Like we were not even on the live stream one single bit. Right. So, and by that time I did have a sponsor. I was sponsored by the local Toyota dealership and I had, some other local sponsors and that kind of sucked for my sponsors. I mean, I wasn't making a ton of money, but they were like enabling me to go to the games. So there was that. But, it was still an incredible experience. Like I don't regret a single minute of it. I still was around these amazing other competitors. I got to compete alongside some incredible athletes and being, you're still when you're at the games, there's this huge gym. The masters and the teams have one area and then the individuals have another area, but you're all in there together. So, you're brushing shoulders with Tia and Matt and it's a pretty awesome experience either way. So and
I imagine it must have been very inspiring for the people around you, like either back at your home
I hope
gym
so.
and your family and your daughters and that kind of thing. It must have been
my daughters. I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I don't know. I think they, if you're going to ask me, the one thing I regret is that they think of it, or at least I perceive that they think of my CrossFit as time away from them. So there's always a little bit of like
resentment.
Yeah. They're not into it at all. I mean,
I think, if they're not now, I'm sure in the years to come, they will come to appreciate like what it took to do that.
I hope so. We'll see. You have to ask them.
Because it really is, it really is an incredible thing. I mean, I've been like on the bleachers of the sport for a while and look at the outside. It's always incredible to me to see what the masters do.
It takes
just knowing what it takes. The time and the energy and then the motivation. Motivation is hard sometimes, like you were saying, like when it's dark and it's cold and you're on your own, like it's hard to
get motivated. I mean, having training partners, having an amazing coach. I mean, Arnold he's an incredible coach, having a team of, my chiropractor and my body work, like it's like you need to surround yourself with a team of people. It's not like you do this on your own. I mean, it was really like a group effort.
When you went into 2019, were you like, this is going to be my last year competing, or was that not a conscious decision? Was it?
I I almost didn't go. Like, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. My coach is like, well, just do the open, just do the qualifier. And yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of like done at that point.
Yeah, a little burnt out.
I was a little burnt. And I had done other local competitions too. There's a big, it doesn't happen anymore, but there's a big competition in Northern California called the NorCal Masters. I had done that 4 times. I won that 3 times. And some other, the Northern California Classic in Sacramento, I did that. So it wasn't just the games. I mean, it was a lot of competing throughout the year. So yeah, I think now, I mean, this year I'm not competing. Not to say that I never will again, but yeah. I'm focusing on other things right now. Yeah, because it takes, I mean, to compete at that level, it's a huge sacrifice. It's so much time. It's so much energy, physically and mentally, and everything, like emotionally. I mean, I mean, that for me, I don't know how, I imagine that's how it is for other people. I
think it definitely is. I think what's interesting is, I don't think it matters what age you come into it at. I think you have a shelf life of a competitive life of, like, whether you start at 35 or whether you start at 19, if you compete hard for, let's say, 5 years, that's going to take a toll.
It takes a toll. It does.
Both physically and mentally. And I think you just get to the point where, like, I just can't live this way anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I like that year, 2017, I'm sure I had adrenal fatigue. Like, I was, brain fog. Oh yeah. I mean, I was just exhausted physically and mentally, traveling internationally, like all that stuff. Just, it does take a toll. And I eat really well, and I do all the recovery stuff, and I meditate, like I do everything, but it's still, it wears you down.
There's only so much you can do. So let's talk a little bit about that. So training for health versus training for competition, because, a lot of people, they start their fitness journey, or they start CrossFit with, I want to get healthier, I want to lose some weight, or I want to gain some strength, or whatever it may be. There's the impetus behind that. But a lot of people find themselves getting into that competitive realm, which then in some ways takes away from the health benefits, or, the baseline reasoning why you got into it in the first place kind of loses its way as you get more and more competitive, and then you actually can end up doing more damage than good, and that kind of thing. So how have you dealt with that? How's that changed now? How's your training changed now?
That's a definitely good question. I mean, there's working out and there's training. First of all, like, to me, training is when you have a specific goal in mind, and that can be a goal of like a competition goal, or it can just be like, I want to get my first pull up. So that's one piece of it. And I encourage everyone to train, like have a goal in mind, because it motivates you and it builds confidence. I mean, just to work towards achieving a goal is like, it gives you focus, it gives you drive. And then when you do achieve that goal, that amazing, the endorphin rush, the feeling of confidence, it's just an incredible feeling. So that's one thing I encourage everyone to do. But getting caught up in, training for competition versus just being competitive in the gym, there's a big difference there too. Like, always trying to chase a number and like just trying to win, I think you lose some of the benefit of the experience, not allowing yourself to enjoy the process, for one thing. I mean, I've definitely learned that personally. Like, there is something to be said for just like enjoying the journey, and whether or not you achieve your goal of being on the podium, like, did you enjoy the experience? Like, what did you learn along the way? Because ultimately, like, that's what it's all, that's all we have, is the here and now and the experience that is happening right now. So if you're not enjoying that and taking that, you're just kind of missing out on everything. And I do kind of on the point we touched on earlier, like, I see a lot of people who fell in love with CrossFit and loved working out with people and loved like that kind of friendly competition, and then got to the point where they started taking it seriously, kind of like took themselves out of the group workouts to work out on their own, because they had to do their own programming. So then they're basically isolated. They're basically just training on their own in the gym. For
the
what?
community's still there, but it's not the same feeling. And then they're competing in whatever it is, and they're coming, whatever the position is, but it's not high enough to earn any living or any real money from it. So then you ask the question of, is it worth it? Is it worth doing that to yourself for something that is not, it's certainly not going to pay you a living. It's certainly not going to give you any financial reward.
Right.
And is it giving you the same feeling of enjoyment and fun and thrill that you had when you were working out with everybody else and enjoying that kind of group dynamic? I just wonder, because I see it so often.
Yeah, I do too. And I it's like people repeating open workouts. Like, for what? Like, why? I mean, you're not going to make it to the games. Why are you beating yourself up? Why are you like potentially injuring yourself? Why are you wasting your energy on this? And yeah, it's that same thing of like, you start, I find myself, I fell into that rut. Like, I started off just because of the community. Then I got into the competitive thing. And then I was like still trying and like, I can just relax now. Like, I don't have to be. And I see people doing that still. It's like they're in there grinding away and not having any fun.
No.
Like, just like, yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, why are you doing this? Like, and sometimes I think it's like maybe easier to do that than something else. Like, if you're spending all your energy in the gym, where else could you be directing that energy? Like, is that like preventing you from dealing with a relationship or your career, or I don't know. I mean,
ultimately, if you're spending 3.5, 4 hours in the gym a day training, it really is, and it's not. That's not your living. That's not how you're making your money.
Yeah.
To me, it's like there's a very finite time you can do that for.
Yeah,
like,
and it's not necessary. It's like there's a law of diminishing returns. After a certain point, you're not really getting the benefit from it.
Right.
And especially now. I mean, as you get older, like, you just can't keep.
And you can't possibly recover.
No.
From that.
No.
Volume of work.
It's not possible.
Did you? I mean, it's been in the news recently again. Did you witness, or did people talk about like the steroid thing much in the Masters realm when you were in there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I get asked a lot. I mean, you can't see I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but I. Yeah,
you guys should know that Leka is rich. Like, if you were to see her body, you would think. I mean, you have a bodybuilder's almost physique.
Yeah, like people think I'm a bodybuilder. If they don't know what CrossFit is, they think, oh, do you do bodybuilding? I've been asked if I take steroids. I never have. I never would. And the first year that I competed in 2017, the woman who won in my age division got popped for steroids. And I think in other age divisions, I mean, it's everywhere. And people think, oh, no, CrossFitters don't do it. Well, they do. And it turns out, yes, in fact, it's coming out more and more. There's more and more people are getting tested and popped. So I mean, I've been right next to people who have been doing it. Friends of mine who I was like shocked were doing it. And
were they open with it to you, or was it just like you found out?
Yeah, nobody I know has ever been open about it. Right. I mean, I could see why, I get it, why someone would want to do that. It makes you stronger and faster and recover faster, maybe, but there's huge side effects. Like, to me, there's no way I would do it. Like, there's no reason.
The only thing and the only argument I make for it is if you have two guys, I'm talking about men because I understand a man's body more than I do a woman's body, so I don't want to. But when it comes to testosterone, like, a man's testosterone can drop very significantly from his 30s onwards, and some men's testosterone drops a lot more quickly than others.
Yeah.
And if I were to go and get tested, and if my testosterone was low to the point where they would say to me, look, this is dangerously low. If you don't do something about this, like, there are health implications here. So if I were to supplement with testosterone to get my levels back up to a healthy range, am I then guilty of cheating?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a complicated
there's
thing.
Women too. I mean, testosterone is very important for women too.
Right.
I mean, I have, clients who are in that situation where, they're not producing testosterone and they're taking it because they need to for health reasons.
Right.
So, I mean, and they know that maybe that's going to disqualify them. So, there's enough of a window so I think there's a time and a place, for sure. And you have to decide if that's what you want to do. But yeah, that might give you an edge over some other guy who's not taking it.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because it's a legitimate reason to take testosterone.
Right.
Because like I said, there are health implications to having very low testosterone. So,
yeah,
it's a difficult.
I mean, supplementation, there's a lot. I mean, now, people are they're getting pop and they're saying, well, it was in my water. I didn't even know I was taking it. So maybe that does happen. It's like, it's possible.
And there's a big difference between something like testosterone and something like Anavar, right? So it's like, there's a reason why you would take testosterone because of, but there's certain, certain drugs that there's no medical reason that you would need to take.
It's funny. I actually, the only thing I take is CBD. And when I started taking it, occasionally THC, but my coach gave me some CBD several years ago before it was like, before you could get it in Walgreens. Yeah. And he's like, you could take this, but stop taking it, a couple months before because it might be illegal. And
oh, really?
It was kind of funny. I was like, now it's like, whatever. But it just helps with inflammation and pain and recovery. So there's that.
Yeah. So, your whole experience in the games, your whole experience of CrossFit, how has that shaped what's next for you? Like how you work with your clients and your workshops and stuff like that. How are you taking all that knowledge and all that experience and how are you applying that now moving forward?
Yeah. So I'm still coaching. I mean, I coach full time. It's my business. My business has changed. I mean, I'm no longer coaching in a CrossFit gym. I mean, occasionally I'll fill in here and there, but my focus now is on, being an inspiration and a leader and guiding women in claiming or reclaiming their inner athlete. Because for me, that was such a big piece of once I made that shift and I got over that fear of, getting bulky and getting strong or whatever, I was able to just like find so much joy and strength and power in my own body. Yeah. So that's what I hope to, impart to my clients and what I'm doing now with my work. And, I'm starting to produce retreats. And so the experience that I've gained in CrossFit with not just the physical training, but the mindset training and the fueling for performance, all of that is what I carry over into my coaching and my working with clients. And
at your retreats, are you aiming specifically at kind of masters women? Is that kind of your...
They're designed for women, I say like 45 plus, not necessarily like competitive CrossFit athletes.
Right. Just people who are interested in getting fitter
and
healthier.
I mean, women who are, I would say, entering the next phase of life. We're dealing with hormonal changes and just life changes, maybe kids leaving, career changes, and especially now, the past 2 years, what's been going on in the world and dealing with all these crazy stresses. And so providing like tangible tools that women can take back into their life to help mitigate just the stress and challenge of everyday living. Yeah. So it's mindfulness, it's nutrition, it's movement. It's really like tuning into your own body and, we are our own best healers. So it's like spending the time to just slow down and getting in touch with ourselves, I think is just really important. And I find that now it's like, and we touched on this earlier, it's like that kind of concept of less is more. Sometimes, being more recovered is going to enable you to hit it harder and be able to perform better. So
you mentioned nutrition. I want to touch on that briefly. How has your nutrition changed as you've gotten older? Like, have you had to change much, or what are you noticing?
So the way I grew up, I just kind of, I inherited a really good sense of how to eat well. Organic, nutritionally dense, all that stuff was just like, that was common household knowledge to me. I mean, I come from a family of amazing cooks and foodies. And so I've always had like a love and awareness of food. But, as an athlete, I needed to fuel more. Like I realized I is eating well, but not enough. So I did work with a coach in 2016, Matt Walrath, actually. He helped me. I learned all about the whole macro thing. And since then, I've really leaned into it. I mean, I studied nutrition. I'm certified in nutrition. And as an athlete, I've had to really just focus on fueling for performance instead of just like I've never been on a diet. So for now, getting older as women, especially, we need more protein because our ability to synthesize protein, from our food declines. So getting the protein, timing is really important. So, packing your carbs and protein around your training is super important. and getting enough fiber. So, that whole thing about eating the rainbow is super important. Eating all the colors of fruits and vegetables to get your micronutrients and the fiber that you need for your gut microbiome. Those things are just, not just for how you look and your performance in the gym, but for your brain health. Like there's that big connection to the gut microbiome is very important. And as, for women, as we age, the hormonal shifts, our diet becomes more crucial too. So just you really having to pay attention to that. What used to work, when you were 20 or 30 just doesn't work anymore. So you need to get it dialed in.
Are you good with water? You drink a lot of water?
I could probably drink more, especially now living in the desert. I probably don't drink enough water. Yeah. And also just drinking, I have a client, she told me the other day, she's like, I'm drinking a gallon of water, and like, well, make sure you're putting electrolytes in there.
Right.
Because you need the water, but you need to make sure you're hydrating properly, getting those salts
as well.
Yeah.
So. What about supplements? Again, as a masters athlete, what do you find has kind of been essential for you?
So right now, I'm not actually taking, I take recovery shake after I work out. So that's whey protein mixed with carb powder. I take BCAAs. If I'm training like at a high level, which now I'm not, I would take creatine. I would be taking a really good quality omega-3, so fish oil. I would take vitamin D, magnesium. So those are like the main things. Beyond that, I would say I would recommend you need to get your blood levels checked to see if you're really deficient in something before I would go and recommend. Yeah,
all the ones you mentioned there are basically my staples that I take kind of year round. And then I would agree, like beyond that, you need to have your blood work done, see if you're lacking in anything. But I don't think with omega-3, with vitamin D, with magnesium, with BCAAs and recovery shakes and that kind of thing, that's pretty much
and you need to make sure you're getting a couple servings of veggies at every meal and all that other stuff too, so.
And this is like assuming that assuming
your everything else is dialed in,
balance is good.
Yeah. And then like I said, the CBD for me helps with sleep. I do take ZMA. I kind of go between magnesium and ZMA, zinc, magnesium. So
ZMA, zinc and magnesium complex
for sleep. So those are the main
ones.
But
theanine, do you take any theanine?
I have taken it just like for stress and sleep. Yeah, that's another one that can be helpful. I don't take it regularly, but I do recommend that sometimes if someone's really struggling. Sleep is like a whole nother thing, and I have a whole like sleep protocol, sleep hygiene. We could talk. I'm sure you could do a whole podcast on that.
Right.
That's
Are you the kind of person like switches off all electronics like an hour before bed and does all that
kind
of
stuff? I should. Do as I say, not as I do. But I try. I do try to dim the lights. I sleep in a dark room. I sleep with a sleep. Sleep is like become something. I sleep Nazi. I call myself. Like
honestly,
really.
I think it's the most important thing.
It is. If you're not sleeping, you might as well not even be working out. It's like. There's no point.
You mentioned before about brain fog. Honestly, if I don't sleep, I have the worst brain fog. I just cannot get through the day.
So sleep is really big. And I work with people, a simple thing is just checking all those things, like how much caffeine are you drinking? I drink it in the morning. I don't drink it in the evening. So that's crucial for masters, for anyone. Babies. You know that. You have a little kid.
I know. Yeah. So you mentioned the retreats and stuff. Like immediately, what's happening for you in the next year? What's your next year look
my
like?
first retreat is actually happening the end of this month in Palm Springs, women's wellness retreat, and I'm super excited. It's sold out, so there's 12 women coming, and it's 3 days of nutrition, workouts, mindfulness. We're going to be doing yoga and meditating and hiking, and there's like a strength piece and a high intensity workout, some pool workouts. We're doing breath work. So it's a chance for women to get away, connect with each other, connect with themselves, and reset, and then have those tools that they can take back with them.
Fantastic. You have like 12 women on that?
12 women on that. And so I'm launching this as a business. I'm planning to do these throughout the year. I know you guys are doing these too. I think it's something that people really need right now.
Yeah.
And especially like I find when I'm in a group of women, it's like food for my soul. It feels really great. So I'm creating that. And so far it's been very well received, which I'm super grateful for. It's super exciting.
Fantastic. Well, and the first one sold out. Pretty quickly. So
it did. Yeah.
It just goes to show that people are looking for it.
People are needing it, definitely. Yeah. And then I work with clients one-on-one. fitness and nutrition and mindset kind of are the focused. Mostly women. I mean, I do have some male clients, but my goal is really to just be an inspiration and leader for women to, that whole inner athlete thing and just really like loving their bodies. I feel like that's just something that, we as women just don't do. And it's really sad to me. So trying to reverse that.
Yeah, I think it's a noble cause.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me on to my next question, which I ask everybody on the podcast. What is your purpose? What is your job?
Yeah,
what is your
it's
purpose?
just that. Just to be an inspiration and guide and leader in helping women claim or reclaim their inner athlete and just live their strongest and healthiest lives and love their bodies and love their life. That's why I'm here.
Amazing. Where can people find you? What's the best way to reach out to you if people are interested in the retreat?
My website's probably the best way. LekaFineman.com. I mean, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but as we saw last week, I might not always be there. Leka Fineman on Instagram or in Leka at LekaFineman.com. Probably the best way.
Great. Well, I wish you all the best with that. I mean, I think you're doing amazing things. Obviously, you're an incredible athlete, incredible coach, incredible person. And I think what you're doing is so needed and so valuable. And I can't wait to see, what you do with it and where it goes and where you take it. And obviously, I look forward to seeing more of you up here and
I'm happy to
with
be
you
here.
on these things. Because Leka's like an hour down the mountain, and it's a beautiful kind of drive down.
Yeah,
so hopefully
gorgeous.
we'll be able to do some. We'll be able to do some sync ups and some.
We're gonna
some
go work out right now. I hope.
We're gonna work. She's gonna put me through something right now, Brandon. I'm kind of scared.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you on. That is it for today, guys. Like I said, make sure you check out Leka, LekaFineman.com. She's doing great work. Especially if you are a woman over the age of 45, you need help with mindset, with nutrition, with workouts and that kind of thing. Truly a great resource. She's lived it. She breathes it. She knows all about it. So this is where you should go. So please reach out. Thanks for tuning in today. Obviously, we are open fully now, 1316 Glendale Blvd at Pharos Eco Park. The lodge, we are sold out on our next retreat in October, but we have just launched our next year retreats starting in January. So check those out.
Come to the retreats. They're great. I can attest to them.
Came to as well. So check those out as well, and then come see us at the lodge. And until next time, take care. Thanks, guys. Bye now.